It probably still needs some revision. Because somebody.
No, nothing can change. That's it. I'm done.
Hell, this.
Someone resigned.
Well, tell them they can't. Because it's already in the-
I'll call him up.
Yeah, that.
I'm happy to get this.
Yep.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fine, but it'll get better.
I do.
Brandon, I'll call him. There's any updates on the electric inspector position.
No, I haven't brought it to the board yet. We did get it approved for the part-time, so I mean, we can hire. Is Peter on that side?
What do I do?
Yeah,
So we could talk.
I don't need to. Do I just go into this?
That worked fine.
that does work for him?
Yeah.
Okay, because I did talk to, I had a meeting with Menominee County and they were on board with it. So we're both like in agreement with it. And so he's in agreement with it, then all we need is the contact between Menominee County and Dulles County. So we're like almost there. If he's willing to hang on, but
You're just looking for an update.
yeah.
Where does it say today's agenda?
Perfect.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Morning, or good afternoon.
We should workshop.
No, this. You want to be on the agenda tonight? Okay, what I will do is I will add you under new business.
You have this. Was reprinted and.
Yeah, he's gonna go.
I have it on.
Really, why?
Hi, Commissioner, how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
For payment of bills.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
I'm not gonna make a mistake. And you can want to be here for it.
Well, Nancy.
Hi, Doc. Just in case, right? How are you, Ed?
And straight. And then we will add. After, no, those will be old business. Unfinished business. Right. Yes. Need to get my number. I didn't bring it today. I was kind of crazy. Oh, okay. I don't like driving at night, but because of my baby. Yes. I'm trying to. Am I missing something? Take a look at this. I go under what the hell's this? Board agendas, is it, or board agendas 2023. I'm not seeing that. Which one is it? All right. Board agendas 2023. And there's nothing here for the 2nd of February. 7th of February. Is it on yours? It is. Yeah, I'm right. Here. So, where did you wander? Just let me back up. I understand it could be my vision. Okay, go back. Oh, here, that's the. Are you doing down here? I don't have a lot of information. No, I have none of the information. I was not. That's fine. No, I will be as helpful. I will rely on you. Okay. We have a 30-day notice of appointment for the planning commission. It's a little easier to read. Oh yeah, quite a bit. And what is this 1.5? It's for planning commission. New business. Let me send this first. No problem. Okay, so 1.5, where are you under new business? But yeah, then what I'm going to do is add Denham at one. He'll be after the payment of bills, he'll be right during the payment of bills. So 1.5. No, I think that's the only new business, isn't it? The old town tonight. Oh, yeah, filling up with Zoom. Hey, I got her deputy. Oh, do we? Cool. I was like, he's an attorney with a lot of experience in heavy bar. He goes up to his kitchen and I like to move forward. So talk about possibly considering having different boards. I want to move away from that. That's it. Yeah. Because the prosecutor, it's not a good. We should have our own still. And I'm going to get this guy's resume and the board.
Did anyone else want to sign the board about agenda items?
It's a very simple thing.
Anyone else want to sign in to address the board? If you want to address the board about agenda items, agendas are down there on that last table.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pick up my wedding license. I said, no.
Oh, get a refund? Sorry.
No,
I just talked about. Oh, that's. So you could speak. I'll just do that. No. Anybody needs an agenda, there's some on that last table over there.
So do I. Oh, sure. Sure you do. We won't.
No. Not unless it comes up during now. That's just a. Oh.
Oh, right, there he is. You get a glare off his head. Actually, I think John got more hair than anybody on the board. Okay.
A regular meeting of the Delta County Commissioners is being held this date pursuant to the following call and a letter to the Commissioners dated February 2nd, 2023, and reading as follows. The honorable members of the Delta County Commissioners, dear Commissioners, a regular meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. I'm sorry, at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. in the boardroom of the Service Center and via Zoom. Sincerely yours, Nancy Presrocki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for our many blessings. We ask for your guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interests of the citizens they serve. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Commissioner Melner,
Here.
Commissioner View,
Here.
Commissioner Barron.
Here.
Commissioner Moyle.
Here.
And Commissioner Peterson.
Here. Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Clerk Rocky. What we will do is start with the Commissioners' informational workshop. I would like to explain what we're doing for this. This will be the first meeting of every month, and it will start at 5 o'clock. And what this will do is give the commissioners a chance to tackle various items. Obviously, tonight, the parks are going to take up our time, and we'll go from 5 to 6 at the latest. It won't always go from 5 to 6. Sometimes we may have 2, 3 items on the as far as what we're going to be discussing. We do not vote during that time during the informational workshop. So just letting you know, this is our way of trying to get at more things and streamline more activity. What is the commission's pleasure? Would you like to start obviously with the parks? And I would like to hear from obviously Conservation District in talking and moving forward. Anybody questions about how to proceed or how you would like to proceed?
I'd like to see us start with the parks, and I think as we had the letter of last month, that we would bring up the Soil Conservation District and be able to open that for questions and presentation from that.
Anybody else, gentlemen? All right, very good. Mr. Mattson, can we see you, please?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good to see you. I don't really know where to start. This is something that I never thought I'd be tackling, but we have you for a period of time, and you're a critical player in this. And you've been a critical player in making sure that the parks transformed into a destination. So, gentlemen, where are your questions? Mr. View? Or Commissioner Peterson, go ahead.
You know, I'm kind of just sitting here, and I guess kind of what my thought is listen to what Rory has to say and then see what questions come from that.
Very good. Anybody else?
That's fine.
It's your floor, Mr. Mattson.
Hey, yeah, I didn't make a presentation or anything. I
I
knew you
didn't
guys were
expect it.
having the workshop,
Didn't expect
so.
We'll keep
I
going with
guess,
questions.
you received a letter. Can't remember when the last board meeting was, something of January. And basically, we gave 120-day notice up to May 15th to assist this county in finishing up whatever has to be finished up and to get the parks ready to open and give you guys time to transition into whatever you're going to do with those parks.
Well, speaking for myself, your assistance in this transition is critical. And it's something that I personally am looking forward to, and I think it's imperative. Do you have specific questions, commissioners? Go ahead, Mr. Mr.
I
Pearson.
do a question or a letter that we received from an individual, and it was about the $100,000 or the $75,000 for you guys to run the park. Is that paid in advance or in arrears?
The way that's been paid for 12 years is following county policy. In other words, the government runs on a fiscal year, right? October 1 through September 30th. So after October 1, anybody, at least that we know, receiving an allocation request has to send in a request. That's what we've always been told from the administration. So we sent in a request probably early October. It's probably not right away on October 1, but it's usually past October 1, and requesting whatever the county board had approved or was in the contract. So it was $100,000, $25,000 of it is totally separate from the parks. That's all the assistance that the Conservation District gives each year. And somewhere Dave Rivard used to track it very well. And we used to track it and come in through our reports, and we still do that, which will be given that report in March, because we wait for the federal government to put out their maps. The maps show exactly what happened.
I've been waiting to see what it turns out to be.
Stand by. Can we please
Okay, no
mute
problem.
the Zoom?
Compared to every other county in the state. So that's why we wait till usually March to present that. And we always have to the board. It's a very quick report because the county board has never wanted everything just completely laid out. So it shows income coming into the parks, income going out of the parks, the bigger thing like utilities and, things like that, that take up most of the expenses. So that report's given. So it is 100,000. It used to be 75,000, which that basically meant from 2010, October 1 through September 30th, trying to remember where we are, of 22, basically fiscal year 22. It was $50,000. And part of that 50,000, I think it was starting in 12, it could have been 13. I have to go back to budgets and look at it. When the pavilion was built, we also repaid the money that the county put up. They put up $150,000. So there was like 17,000 something. I always just round and say 18 for easy math. That was paid back at 3% interest over 10 years. And that ended September 30th of 2022. So this new agreement would have been the 75-25, not the 50-25. So this year we received the $100,000. County has been fantastic with that. And the reason too that we need to get it then is obviously the Conservation District does not own the parks. All we have done is run those parks to the best of our ability for this county. And yep.
Is anybody else getting bleed through from that
Yeah, I
speaker?
am.
I need that turned off, please, so we're not
If we
distracted.
turn that off, YouTube cannot hear. So that's
So is
your
that-
call.
Is that systemic? I mean, can we address that? in the
That was
future?
addressed with IT today. So
Okay.
that's the best that he can do.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
That was help if I step back or don't? talk
No,
so loud?
it's something
Okay.
totally unrelated or something.
So where was I? Oh, so, obviously, the parks don't open until about the middle of May, depending on what that date is. And we really don't bring in revenue till the seasonal revenue comes in, and that's usually the end of February. And then, of course, we open registration, or we have open registration in the past, sometimes towards the end of March. So that's when revenue comes in. What you're doing from October 1 to basically when that money starts coming in, we keep one employee, well, from, the parks don't close till the 15th of October. So you usually keep employees on till the parks close, and then a little bit of administration, and then we have one employee that's a constant employee. So that employee then is paid out of the parks and only works for the parks for, that time frame. So we need some kind of income coming in. The first year when we did this, which was fiscal year 11, I believe, because that probably started October 1 of 2010. It was a handshake agreement with the commissioners, $50,000 to see what was going on, because back then they were talking about closing the parks because they couldn't afford it, because they were putting in somewhere between 130 and 140,000, and the buildings were, problems with I still remember the pictures in the paper, the holes in the roofs and all those things. So basically, though, that first year it was a handshake agreement. Commissioners were very honorable. We basically put conservation district money into it till the end of the year. And I think we had 100 and some thousand, and the county, no problem, paid us back, and we weren't worried about that. So, but after that, we wanted to make sure that we had running money up front. So that's why it's requested. And obviously that money's, and that's why it's.
Good night.
Yes, please, Commissioner View.
I'd like to start to find out if what we're doing is within the realm of the contract, because if I look at this letter that was sent to all the commissioners, and I just want some explanation on it, to the extent that the district's action does not conform to the agreement, is one of the things that it says with the county. According to the terms of the agreement can only be terminated by a party in the month of June, and the termination will not take effect until October 1st. And then it ends the letter with the board can and should refer this matter to the prosecuting attorney who represents the county in civil matters, and it lists Michigan Municipal Code or something 49-153. Does anyone on the board, or do you understand what this letter is saying? Because I don't want to make light of going through this whole process and finding out everything. If
Commissioner, let me address that, please.
okay,
And I don't know if I'll address it to your satisfaction, but I'll
no,
address it.
just
The board will determine whether it goes somewhere. And if you look at this, I mean, we need to keep our eye on the ball. Ball is we lost the services of the conservation district, and it's gonna ouch. I don't see turning something over to the prosecutor unless the board is hell bent on pushing the district away, and we need their help in this transition. So I appreciate the letter, but I have no intention on moving on it. Commissioner Milner.
I look at it as he breached the contract by doing what he did.
He did, or the district did?
The district,
It's a big difference.
it is only supposed to be terminated in the month of March. Or I mean, the month of June, sorry. And it is a breach of contract.
Would you like that addressed?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes,
during the negotiations for that, there's always been something in there. Your administration wanted 120 day. We used to have 90 day. Okay,
Thank you.
so in so doing, the month of June, and those in the agreement will remember this, or should remember this if they're honest, is basically I had to ask for June then, because it's not county employees, right? It's district employees. So if we waited and all of a sudden in July, for some reason, the county board just said, you're done. We have no control over that, but we do have control over our employees. So we would have just hired a bunch of seasonal employees that we're hiring for the summer. And we wanted to make sure that if the county terminated this agreement, that's what was the June date. And that's why we asked for it. And I know during that, Commissioner Johnson was the representative for the county. I'm sure he remembers that we requested that. And that's why that got put in there. Right now, if we were to give you that 120 day in June, that's not a good time for the county. Because that means the parks don't close and all the bills aren't in. And also the finances and stuff don't end on September 30th. Right now is the best time in the world for this county because it gives you 3 months to turn around and try to find somebody. And that's why we agreed to stay on and get everything going through the thing, assist this county and just finding the employees. That's all you would have to do. So
But-
right now it's the best time for the county. So we could have pushed it to June and notified, and said, okay, we're going to run it till September 30th. But the problem we had too, getting right to it, was we knew through the negotiations that there was individuals on the board and also the administration who basically did not want to renew that contract. Through that contract, they came up and actually put on the table how the county was going to run this, the whole blooming shot. So it ended up with a 3-2 vote. As you're well, no, Commissioner Melner, you were one of the ones who did not want to go forward with it. And with the final, so we had everything set for 10 years. We were moving employees who worked for us for 16 years over to work for basically the parks, for the betterment of this county, the betterment of those parks. And what ended up happening is we watched through that whole process for 2 commissioners who were sitting, you and Commissioner Nelson, to vote against that contract. And then we watched when you guys ran for public office and basically ran on the part, if this board would have turned out different, you were going to renegotiate that contract or terminate it. Maybe you would have waited till June. But that does not mean some 16-year employee from us is going to come over to those parks and expect 10 years of employment and then get booted. So basically, they said, we're not transferring. So the point is, we lost everybody who was going to come and work in those parks. And that's a direct thing on those people who tried to get rid of us. And this has been going on for a long time. You personally have been trying to get rid of us for 2 years, and you know you have, if you're honest here with the public. Every place you go, townships and everything, I hear these things, and we hear these things. So the bottom line is, if you don't want us there, that's what you asked for. I guess the old expression is, be careful what you ask for.
And I guess one thing that you were really pounding on is you wanted a 10-year contract. So the employees at the conservation district or your employees that are working would have a job for 10 years. After 3 months, you terminated this contract.
Because we don't
Just-
have those employees. They're not going to work. They're not coming to the parks. They're sticking in their regular jobs. And you're right. We did a 10-year because we're not county. I understand with the county, like unions having 3-year contracts, maybe 4, because it's government. We're government, but we're not county government. So in 2010, this county asked us to run a business. You ever heard of a business coming in and saying, well, we'll start this business, we'll get it going. But hey, in 2-3 years, you're out the door. You could be out the door. Who's going to work for you? Because every day they work, they're looking for another job. You can't do that. So if you guys go on to another private sector, unit or whatever you want to call it, to run these parks, you're going to have to sign a 10-year contract or longer. It's going to have to be long-term. We were government, but we weren't county government. So that's why we asked for the 10-year to make sure that employees that we hired had longevity. I'm guessing when you do contracts within the county, and I don't follow all these contracts for these divisions or sectors, is that you might offer 3 years, but then chances are, if they're doing a good job, they get to stay. I would think. I could be wrong. Because pretty soon, then they're jumping.
But anything I ever seen on a contract, if whatever whatever is written in a contract is a contract, and it said
Mhm.
that you cannot terminate until June.
So am I to understand this? You want the conservation district to stick around longer?
I'm just saying, he breached the contract.
Not he, the district.
Yeah, this is definitely not,
And I bring that up all the time because this is part of the problem right here.
The district breached the contract.
what is your endpoint, Commissioner? I'm not sure what you want.
Could I have the prosecutor, if the board's okay with the prosecutor talking about this?
I have no desire to hear that right now. I want to find out what we can do moving forward, not worrying about a contract, but it's my opinion. Mr. Peterson, you're next. You have the floor after he's.
Roy, would you tell us about the $42,500 that was supposed to be awarded to you in September?
Rob, you're killing me.
I believe it was last February, March. And even before that, the county, I believe, got $7 million for COVID money. I'll just call it COVID money. I think it's what, American
Rescue plan.
Rescue Plan money. Okay, we engaged immediately, as we should. As anybody running your parks or any other division, and I'm guessing all the other, they're not divisions, what do I want to say, departments, sorry about that. Departments engaged with the county to see where that money was going to go. And it was, I don't know, year, 9 months negotiation. So we asked for less than 3%. That to see if this county would put money into the parks. As it started out, didn't seem to get too good of a reception. But because of basically Commissioner Moyle, Commissioner Barron, and Commissioner Johnson, we ended up with 205,000 committed to the parks, which was less than 3%. That leaves 97 point some percent left, right, for the rest of the county, however it's going to be. So that kind of showed us too what the county at that time wanted to commit or not. So basically, out of the 205,000, there was, I think there was 4. I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize, but it was broke down, I think, and we came with more projects like everybody else. We got it around, but I believe there was 4 projects. One was to supplement a grant that you already have. One was for, I don't even go, but I believe there was 4. One of those was the cabins. We approached Bessie, what, 2 years ago? I'd have to look back to, and asked for $100,000 to put in cabins in Pioneer and Fuller Park. And we were successful in getting 100,000. Commissioner Rivard helped a lot with that, and we worked through Bessie to get that. That was always a goal, to have cabins on, basically not necessarily in Fuller, but at Sac Bay and also along the river at Pioneer. So we got it. COVID hit. Prices just went crazy. So we still worked to keep the prices down. Even the Conservation District bought the original cabin. And to show the county how it would work, we bought it, moved it with the county board's permission to Pioneer Park, and that's the one that sits by the pavilion. And we asked permission to put it on the grounds there. And if things worked out and we could work it into the budget, then the county basically would pay that money back to the district. If not, we would get Vandermissen or somebody to load it up and haul it away, or Blue Wolf who hauled it there. So we had no problem. But we wanted to show how much it would work. Once that happened, that was a $7,200 cabin, if I remember. Then we went to buy the other ones after COVID. They already had jumped to $8,900. And the time we got done, luckily I came to the board and the board says, buy them. But of course we knew we had Bessie money. We got them all, I believe, for $8,900. But before we even got them delivered, they had jumped to $13,000. And so we basically put them up, finished, but the 42.5 you're talking about was coming out of that 205,000, and it was to be paid as quick as possible once the cabins were done. Because of COVID money, things, watching money, trying to drop, so building expenses started to go down. We didn't get them finished till last August. So sometime September, first part, middle, somewhere in that, I sent that and all the bills to the administration and we're expecting payment. The reason we wanted the payment this fall, two things. Part of that 2005 also was to put electric through the rustic water and also electric to all the cabins at Pioneer. Because in the future, then they could be insulated, things could happen depending on what the parks brought in, and they could even be rented in the winter, just like the state parks. So that was the long-term plan. So we were going to do that. And then also the Fuller Park picnic area came as a problem 37 years ago. So we rolled over, we usually carry over about 25,000 depending on what, but we rolled over quite a bit of money to do the Fuller Park and to also do that, just running it like a business. When we didn't get the 42, we still don't have it today. We could not move ahead doing any of that stuff.
So.
But that part in the agreement was to be paid right away. The other ones, we were going to look for grants at the same time, but that was just supposed to be an immediate payout.
And that was okayed by the previous board.
Correct. And talked about at these meetings numerous times.
So I'm guessing that the county's actually breached its contract.
All right, Commissioner, duly noted. Commissioner Milner?
Did you supply the county with the proper paperwork to get that done?
Yes,
All the bills separated, not just 42,000, just broke down into what's what.
145 or 6, John? Was the total,
Okay.
It was supposed to be above and beyond. My estimate when we went for that was 45,000 above the 100. So everything was submitted. And we were pretty close. We were very close, but I think the 45,000, I look back in the records, but I think it was 42.5. I'll have to figure out why. Maybe it was 45, but 42.5 was sticking in my brain. So, but yes, that was all submitted in September.
Okay, I want to ask a question. Emily, who handles the controller?
Yes, so Mr. Mattson dropped that paperwork off with the invoices and bills. Our controller looked it over. She had some questions pertaining some of the invoices. Sent them to me to then forward on to the Conservation District. I have not gotten the questions to the Conservation District. I am not under any time frame for that. There wasn't any time frame attached to it, and it's not a part of the district contract.
But it was an agreement that we were going to use that money in the fall, especially in December, just like when we put the cabins in out at Fuller Park.
The board approved that money?
Yes,
The board approved money for American Rescue Plan to the district. They did not approve line items or projects that the district was going to be doing or a time frame for that money to be reimbursed.
Additional questions, please.
Yes.
Mr. Barron?
Excuse
Go
me.
ahead, sir.
You've given us a background of what things are right here. We're in need of a transition plan. What are your visions for transition in helping us get through this?
whatever you need us to do. Right now, I believe these things need to be done. Seasonals need to be booked by the end of February, so we have time. That's what we've always done. We have been in the process for 2 years of looking at online registration. There's good things about it, bad things about it. And we had a lot of locals, after we said we were going to go that route, call us up and said, what does this mean? You're going to cater to everybody, not just the locals? Because you always have that, right? And I said, well, there's a way to work with these groups that we could still have the 2 days where you come into the office, one for Pioneer, one for Fuller, and then locals could sign up. And then you can open it up to the cloud. But you still have to wait in line, right? I mean, you gotta get in line to do those things. And that was some of the complaints. So through the years, we moved it back. We used to do it way up in March. We moved it back to about the 1st of April. So it wasn't, 20 below zero and sitting out there. But people would start lining up 11 o'clock at night. One year, we didn't even realize that was gonna happen and the gates were closed and they were backed up on the highway and I got a call by the state police. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. They said, would you please open the gate? People are backed up to the buck end. Well, it wasn't that far, but so we went down, opened it, and then we separated. We did not have Pioneer and Fuller come together. So we did the best we can. And then we tried a number system. So those are the only 2 days that seem to be a problem, but it is very handy having an online system. So we had agreed through the negotiations, we would have one this year. So that's the other thing that should be done. We've looked at a lot of these and Camp Spot, we believe, is the way to go. The things that can happen with Camp Spot are fantastic, no matter who runs it, no matter who does what. You can play with this thing, you can do it. I mean, it literally, their service, if you want them to, can identify your most used sites and adjust people who really don't care and move them around and hop them around and they do all that. So it's a really good system. So that should be done too. We got a hold of them yesterday. Again, if we're going to run it till the 15th, we might as well get that up and running and that can just transfer right to the county with no problem. If they want to change later, they can. But I'm guessing it's a real good way to go in the service for the people. So that needs to be done. What did I say? The seasonals, the pavilion. We haven't started putting people in the pavilion, but we should start that too. So it'll be booked up, real quick. So these are all things we will do. We're gonna continue right now, unless you don't want us to that 15th, and those parks will be able to open on the 15th. So right now, normally we build about 10 tables a year. Picnic tables, because you got to replace them. We got 15 built. We're going to build 5 more, obviously, because I'm guessing out at Fuller, there's going to need to be more picnic tables. So we're planning to do that. If the 42 comes, basically, what we rolled over, we will meet and things get approved eventually. And this committee gets held. We will basically, you guys need to get a recommendation to the DNR. I've already sent something to them at the end of October because we promised them we would send them something. Nothing was happening with the county. So I sent it anyway. And at that time, I had Commissioner Johnson, who was the chairman, and my chairman to basically say, send it. So I had the permission to send it. I just didn't do it because the county was supposed to be handling that committee because of the screw up 37 years ago. We would already had it done and been moving. So with the weather that's out there now, we believe we can go in and do what we would have did in December on all of it and have all this ready to go because it really needs to be seeded early because grass takes time. And also in the spring of the year, Fuller Park, I don't care where you are, has an extremely high water table. And if you're in the wetlands, you're not going to do anything. And there's a little bit of work around there with brush. Don't need permits for as long as you remove brush and don't dig. So all these things could be done right now before it opens and have everything rocking ready to go.
I have a question.
Commissioner View.
I looked at the history this weekend. I tried to get myself up to speed on, 10 years back and how the county has moved forward with this. And it seems to me that the conservation district that has been running it has been very efficient in improvements and money management. And I was thinking, can they be self-governed as an independent structure with the county where kind of like the Board of Health, they have their own board, they have their own.
You mean a Parks Authority? Is that what you're trying?
Well, I don't know if it's called an authority or what. What do we call all these independent agencies that have their everything that the county has, but only at a smaller level? They have the money, they have this, and they're just independent, self-governing. They're a standalone entity of the county. And
Commissioner View, that's what we had up to your last 2 administrators. When Administrator Bergman was here, I heard him stand up at a meeting and remind commissioners that wanted to get into the business and say, hey, Conservation District's doing a good job. If somebody wants to go there, that's where they need to go. And after that, when Commissioner Strom was there, that's when it's changed and it's gotten worse. So
Well,
basically, we've gotten to the point where it's obvious and Commissioner Moyle has said it a million times. How much sand are we going to get kicked in our face and keep doing this? The volunteer hours between myself and my board and other contractors who we do through the Conservation District bring work to, that's going to be the hard part for this county to fill.
Where did it change? I mean, if it was so good, where did it actually change? I mean,
because
how much money did we give you per year? You know, just,
For the parks,
yeah, just,
50,000, we paid you back 17, let's say 18 for easy math,
okay,
up to this year.
okay, how much were you getting this year?
75. And the reason for that too, so you know why we asked for the 25,000 jump was, I think we all learned from COVID, correct?
Mhm.
That a governor, not even from here, can come in, shut you down, and you can't open. So I came in front of the board that year because we got to 50 and I said, we got a problem. I said, we have had an employee on staff since October 1st, and now it's March, right? April. And we don't know, being shut down, because this board did not want to go against the governor, which I think that's pretty smart, probably move, is basically what happens, how do we know when we're going to open? How do we know? So if she shuts it down all summer long by a mandate, do we lay at that time Mr. Weary off? Do we, what do we do here? Because we're going to run out of money now because we can't even get any money in, right? So that year we had to send all the money back to everybody who booked. It was an administrative nightmare. So we sent everything back and now we're sitting with 32,000 because we still have the $18,000 loan. So, and I think we carried over 2025. So Dave Rivard made the motion that if it stayed closed the entire summer, the county would give the district another 25 to keep the man on for this reason. Because we didn't know, it was unknown. Are you just going to let the grass grow? Wood ticks, snakes, everything else, which doesn't mend the camping, and have nobody go in there, look for theft, look for a tree to fall on a roof or nothing we didn't think was very good. So the county board stepped up to the plate and said, if you need it, we will do it. Luckily, and our health director was wonderful too. He wasn't thrilled about it, but he didn't. I remember Commissioner Johnson saying, are you declaring health emergency? And he didn't do it. So by doing that, the board said open, we opened, I don't know if it was May or the first part of June, but we brought in seasonals and we took a stretch and we called them second homes, right? And because that was being allowed in different campgrounds downstate, so they came in, so we had the seasonals till what? I don't know, the middle of June, and then all of a sudden it opened up and we could bring everybody else in. So that's why we asked for the 75. For one person, no matter what happens.
Well, no, I was just looking at the collation of what it costs our county for doing that. And then you mentioned that we already had it as an independent board, but yet it's being ran by the Conservation District. So that isn't an independent autonomous board.
They were a contracted unit that we brought on to run the.
Is the Board of Health a contracted
I
unit?
have no idea, sir, what you're comparing that to. I'm just letting you know on behalf of the.
Well, they have their own staff, they have their own administrator, they have their own budget. They have an authority board that runs the Board of Health. There's no other government agency that.
As does the district.
And that's what we had. And I guess to me, I hear from everybody, yeah, the parks are, yeah, you guys really did a good job, but as soon as you say but, that tells me a lot anymore, with government. So the bottom line was, we could see the writing on the wall. And I can tell you right now, if Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Moyle, probably yourself, Commissioner Peterson, if it would have been a different board,
You would have been.
yeah, it probably was coming June, but there's no employees that are going to work like that, and we're not going to make them. Slavery was outlawed years ago. So you can bring that to the.
Folks, you need to keep it quiet, please. I'm not going to argue with you on this. Please be quiet. You'll get a chance to talk in the appropriate time. Thank you. Any other gentlemen, any other questions or?
Just, was there a matrix done right now on when we take over the parks, what it's gonna cost?
Well, I think
Do we
there are
have some?
two ways of looking at this and we haven't decided which way we're
No,
going to
no,
go.
I know.
Administration might have some numbers for us and I think do you want to look at having an outside agency run it or do you want the county to run it? That's, I
Well,
think, the
That's why you need,
bifurcation.
that's why you need the figures to see if it.
Yeah, I'm sure administration might have questions or not questions, but information from you if you want to go there or additional questions for Rory, please. That's going to be the inevitable question. Do we run this ourselves or do we have an outside agency run it? And that's, again, I don't want him up here all night, but I mean, if you have additional questions for Rory, I don't see us getting through this transition at all without their assistance.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Did you take all your equipment out already? And is there a inventory list of what the county owns and what the conservation district owns?
Every single year that I can remember, John, on sometime August, September, Tracy has sent an inventory. And then we either subtract or add to that inventory and send it back. The last one, we put all the cabins on, I think, because they weren't all on there before and things like that. So yeah, administration should have a list of what is the districts, not what the districts, excuse me, is what is the counties.
No, did you pull out all your equipment already?
No,
No?
some of it,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, we moved some of it up to the district property, yes.
I have a comment.
Mr. Byrne?
Like, again, we're Commissioner Mullner's talking that the soil conservation district is gone. They actually have 3+ months that they are running the park shed. So there's not a reason for them to pull anything out now unless they're using it someplace else of their own equipment. So I believe that we need to look at that they are still running the parks. They gave us 120-day notice. And there's 90+ days on that notice yet. So again, a question I have for you, Roy, is
Yep.
You mentioned about the booking of the seasonals, the online registration, the pavilion bookings. What is look in your crystal ball and what would be your suggestions or vision potentially for us in the transition of what we might want to look at? If we
I
look
think
at-
you just need to, and you know, that's where we don't want the responsibility. You didn't see in that letter that we would totally walk away on May 15th. And the reason behind that is we spent a lot of time there, blood, sweat, and tears in those parks for the residents of this county. So we're not going to bail for them. But the point is, we would like the administration, if I guess that, and employees and stuff, to either be a different company or whatever. And that'll be up to my board at that time, after May 15th, how much we help and how much we don't. And it's going to depend on the cooperation of the county. But we have no intention of just saying that's it. But this was to have, and again, during the negotiation, your administrator brought a whole thing that how the county could do it, right down to the penny. I have it, and she presented it through the thing as an option. So there has been some work on it, definitely some work on it. So this isn't like just a shock and brand new. It might be to the public, but it's not to us.
Gentlemen, anything else for Mr. Mattson? Obviously, this isn't the last time we're discussing this, but for tonight, do you have any additional questions?
Well, I just want to make the comment. I would like to do everything in our power to have the conservation district continue what they have done and in the improvements, whether it's, I don't know how to do it, but that's my thoughts right now from doing the history of what happened. Because it's just another thing that we're going to be liable for years and years that take away from other things in our county.
Well, I was on this board way back when Commissioners Ben Schultz and Elegert asked the Conservation District to run this on behalf of the county. And I've seen this quietly over the last several years. You've heard me say yeoman services. You've heard me say, take a sow's ear and turn it into a silk purse. Now that the parks are a destination, it's easy for people to chime in. We had a situation that, and I'm not blaming any particular, the county had its opportunity to run the parks. And it didn't go so well for whatever reason that was, or reasons. Now, regardless, it doesn't matter how much I lament the fact that the Conservation District is leaving, we have a decision to make. Are we going to have an outside agency run it, or are we going to turn it over to our administration and ask for their best foot forward And so I need you guys to chime in on this as to what direction you'd like to start moving. Mr. Peterson.
My thoughts is I think we should do a survey or a study or something to find out if there's an organization or an individual even that would be interested in taking and running the parks, where it would be run similar to what the district has. And it can, like I said, it could be an individual that steps up, that sets himself up with employees and takes care of all the costs of having an employee. And under our supervision, runs the park similar to what the district has for all these years. There's several advantages that I see. And one of those is the fact that we are not assuming the cost and responsibility for 3, 4, or 5 employees, whatever it takes to run the parks.
Mr. Melner.
There is a company out there that does this. I believe it's called Recreation Resource Management. Right now they run, I believe, just about every federal park in the UP as of right now.
Thank you, sir, for that. Definitely. Anybody else?
If I could,
Please, sir.
Mr. Melner, Commissioner Melner, would you want to get that information so we can get it to us so that we can research it?
I can do that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I make a comment on that.
Wait.
Just make sure that you don't 20 years from now get in the same position. In other words, what I mean by that, if you're going to go independent, make sure that there's something in that contract that somehow will have money to keep up the infrastructure, to keep up the buildings. Because as you well know, this county has entered that with the district at the parks, where everything was run down because everything was being taken out. The next thing is you've also at the fairgrounds. Thank God Vicky Michon them stepped up to help with that after that left the state. But when those buildings get run down that bad, we had a 30-year plan to replace everything at the parks and make them whole and make them new. And we were going to accomplish that with 20. But it can't be done overnight from what those parks bring in. So remember that, because otherwise, yeah, you guys might be all gone, but remember what you leave for a board 20 years from now. So they don't run into the same thing where everything's run down and everything like that. That would be a crying shame. But that's going to be your decision.
But I also say that that's one option, but there are other options of having somebody else run it to a private.
Right.
Absolutely.
But if the county runs it, however that
Yeah.
will turn out, then obviously that the buildings will be kept up and things like that too. But if you go private,
But
a
Do
totally
we know that?
private's
I
going to
mean,
be looking at
if
making money.
if we do go something like that, I already kind of checked into it a little bit. They do give back whatever the county made on the parks. And at that time, we could put it into an account. So if something needed to be fixed, we could fix it.
So what you're saying is that group just runs it and pays for their employees and that, and whatever they make somewhere, that just goes back to whatever entity that
I
is?
didn't get into 100% of this.
Okay.
It was-
I would be
they take a
surprised,
certain-
but-
I'm sure they'll take a certain percentage, but a
Right.
certain percentage will come back to the county.
We're looking forward to seeing the information you bring forward, Commissioner.
And
Seriously.
in so doing with that, please, because that's the rub I've had with you over the last year, is that whatever was left over was supposed to go back into the general fund. We don't want anything to do with that at the Conservation District, because the day you do that is the day you start to watch those parks just keep deteriorating. Because if it goes to the general fund, so it should be, like you just said, earmarked for those parks. And then you guys will always have good parks and be able to compete into the future.
Any additional questions for Mr. Mattson, please? Rory, thank you for your time.
Sure. Thank you,
And
guys.
Any questions for administration now on anything that Emily, Administrator DeSalvo has come up with? Gentlemen,
I received just a budget breakdown from her on what she thought it would cost to have the county run it. I don't think I brought it with me, but I didn't see anything as to I didn't see anything as to there's more than a budget to run these parks. There's maintenance, there's upkeep, there's just, it's a lot more involved. I've run several businesses. One of them was a 32-unit motel, and there was a lot more to it than just a budget. And I would like to see more in-depth study from Ms. DeSalvo, if that's possible, as to, what her ideas are on the maintenance, the management, the upkeep, the restoration of buildings and repair of buildings and grounds. That's all the information that we need to have, whether we bring it to the county or whether we bring it to an individual outside source to run the parks.
at this point, if I might administer,
I
go ahead,
do
did I
have
cut you
one
off? Go ahead.
I called Emily on some information on the parks, and this was, I don't know what day it was, but it wasn't too long ago. And she advised me that 2 commissioners went and told her that she cannot work on anything on the parks no more. She was done.
That's the first I've heard of it.
I received 2 emails, one from Commissioner Barron and one from Commissioner Peterson, telling me that I was presumptuous and to cease anything I was doing because I was not given a board directive. So therefore, I don't have any other information for you other than the financial information that was put together last fiscal year.
What you did put together, or we had a small conversation in your office about possibly 2 part-time people or full-time people, entry-level maintenance folks and a manager. And that's the last conversation I have. Gentlemen, it's up. Go ahead.
Yes, I will address my email. You had put out that you were having an inventory, requesting an inventory, Corey, to do an inventory on the parks, on the equipment, and that you were going to go out and get a hold of the DNR to have
That's incorrect. I didn't have the DNR do anything. I was requesting information because I wanted to gather all information I possibly could to bring to this board tonight. So you had it so that this board could make decisions. I did not give a directive to the DNR and I did not give a directive to my maintenance director.
And another thing, I don't think with the 2 commissioners telling her what to do, that cannot happen without a total board approval. Being at a meeting and
Mr. Peterson.
and what my email to her was meant to say, I will at least say it was meant to say, was that we want to meet as a board to figure out which way we're going to go. And I'll just leave it at that.
Duly noted. Mr. Barron.
Well, obviously I was mentioned, but my email was to that we had made a decision what direction we were going to go, and that we received information from Administrator Salvo, and that it was making assumptions, and I pointed out that the board hadn't said what direction it wanted to go, so it's to get information about direction and not know what the ones that are directing want to go was a little bit ahead of the curve. So it wasn't saying not to, but it was just saying that you're being presumptuous, as the words that she used and I used also. So I have no problem in answering an email and saying what my thoughts were. So thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we're coming to the end of this informational workshop. Any additional questions? Any additional comments, questions for administration or comments as commissioners?
Is she going to be working on what Mr. Peterson asked her to do? I mean, are we moving forward with that?
I mean, this is her
Guys,
job.
we need to keep decorum. All right, you have the floor, Mr. View.
I'm asking the chair if that's Mr. Peterson's request, is that going to be put forward for the administrator to do? We need that information.
I think. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
You know, this is the administrator's job, is to find out stuff to let the board know what options we have to do. We can't have a commissioner, or two commissioners tell the administrator she's got to stop working on something that's so important. And along with that, she tried to get information on the grants that we have out there.
Those MI grants.
Yeah.
I understand that. I can't imagine it's an easy job because you got 5 different bosses and sometimes it might be like trying to get cats to march in a parade. Each boss or each commissioner is requesting something different or has a different perspective. And so there's going to be times when people cross blades or people have differences of an opinion. And I think that's a normal functioning board. But my guess is yes, if Mr. Peterson wants additional information, yeah, we're moving in that direction. Any of you for that matter. Okay. Anybody else, please, in the 4 or 5 minutes we have left. Because we don't have to take it right up to 6 o'clock. We can exit.
Well, I'd like to add one thing to that.
Your answer.
To look at, if somehow you can get a hold of the conservation district and get a look at the volunteer hours, who's going to go out to Fuller Park or Pioneer Trail if there's a issue that can't be handled by the whoever runs.
Mr. Mattson, in terms of volunteer hours, what do you do on an average annual basis?
Everybody.
Okay, what about the other factions of the conservation?
Go back and just ask them. It's pretty easy to say that a full-time equivalent is what, 2,080 hours? Basically 40 hours a week, for 52 weeks out of the year. We probably have 1.5.
Just in donated time?
That's huge.
I was the guy who went everywhere, but nobody else.
All right.
That's huge.
Very good. Any final questions, any final comments from this original informational workshop before we move on? Gentlemen, Mr. Peterson, Mr. View,
No, thanks.
Mr. Melner, Mr. Barron. Emily?
No, thank you.
All right, very good. Then this will be the conclusion of the informational workshop for the commissioners. We don't vote in this. We are moving on right now, and so we would need the approval of the minutes of the previous county board minutes of 1/17/2023.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron,
I'll second that.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that would carry. Also, the committee of the whole, did we have a committee of the whole meeting? No. Okay, very good. Okay, now we need the approval of the agenda or any amendments made to the agenda. Please, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I have some questions here. We have under old business presentation from the MMRMA sponsored attorney. I have not received any information about that. I guess my question is, why is that on the agenda?
Mr. Melnar asked me to put that on the agenda.
That is that $3,000 that we okayed,
Can I,
and I want to go on.
let me finish, please. I won't, I'll make sure you get a chance to speak if you feel you're not adequately represented. The policy that I have as board chair is that any commissioner can get anything put on the agenda. Whether the board approves it or not, that's the board's pleasure. That was put on at a request of Commissioner Melnar, the MMRMA attorney, in regards to visiting that issue. That would be, as Mr. Melnar just said, the $3,000 that we were going to spend getting that attorney up to talk about legal issues, not Robert's rules.
Okay. So I'm not sure why this is being brought back. We made a decision the second meeting last month to do this. And there's no information that's brought forward.
Are you asking to have it stricken from the agenda?
Yes,
All right, well, I need a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Barron would make the motion to have this item under unfinished business stricken or removed from the agenda.
I would second that.
Commissioner Peterson seconds. We have any discussion? All right, all those, please,
No.
please.
I've had several phone calls and several texts and emails saying, why are we spending $3,000 for this? And it's only going to be 2 commissioners at a time. I believe that we could find it either at MAC or UpCap or QPAD or something to give us training for $0.
I believe that, if I might, any other commissioners, please, Mr. View?
I wasn't really clear on getting this attorney here at this time within my first 30 days of trying to hire someone on some issues that I don't even know about yet. So I'm not in favor of that, even though I supported it last time. It was for the benefit of the rest of the commission.
Very good, duly stated. The logic of this was to bring in an MMRMA attorney with experience in the federal bar to talk to commissioners and educate them about legal issues, not Robert's rules, because that's not law. That's just parliamentary procedure. Whether it was issues on zoning, whether it was issues on the Open Meetings Act, it doesn't matter. I believe that price is a steal for an MMRMA attorney with municipal experience in the federal bar, but I'm one guy on the board. So I guess it comes down to a vote. How do you wish to proceed, gentlemen? Do you want this stricken from the agenda or do you want it on? Because we just had our discussion.
The motion is to strike it.
The motion and a second is to strike it. We've had our discussion, additional conversation or discussion. All those in favor to strike, or are you going, sir?
I say would you use a roll call, please?
Yes, we have a call from a request a roll call by Commissioner Barron. The motion is to strike this item from the agenda, which means strike further discussion of it. Go ahead.
Okay, Milner,
No.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. All right, remove that, please. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have another under new business. Under item 8, it's Commissioner Peterson, Delta Conservation District relationship. We have not received any information on this item either. And my question again is, why is it on here?
I was asked by Commissioner Melner to put this on the agenda. He had questions about it. So I put it on the agenda as per my my policy.
Well, I having had the experience in December 20th meeting of something put on the agenda where as it was specifically the supposed ethics situation. And there was individuals put on the agenda and was able to come up and speak and make all kinds of accusations, which there was no way you could defend yourself. This feels like deja vu, and I would move to stricken this from the agenda.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Barron to strike this item from the agenda.
I'll support.
Okay, I have a second from Commissioner View. That would bring us up to discussion.
I just thought it'd be important to for people to know that Commissioner Peterson was on the Conservation District as a chair, and he did know about this contract being terminated before anybody else did.
Commissioner Peterson, do you wish to address that or not?
I was on the board. I was the chairman. I knew there was disgruntled employees. The decision, from what I understand, the decision to actually leave was not made until well after I was off the board.
But you knew about it.
I knew that there was talk about it.
So your loyalty to the county should have been coming first if you were a commissioner by then.
Commissioner, that is a very dangerous question or statement.
No, I will not honor that with a.
Reply. All right, well, I will, unless there's additional discussion, I'll call for a roll call vote on this.
Excuse me, Milner,
No.
View,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes,
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. All right, so we have those two items stricken from the agenda. Is there anything else?
yes, I have two items to add under unfinished business. Pertaining to the, let's see, the Fuller Park Picnic Area Committee and so that we can get this taken care of.
So you're proposing that item number 1 under unfinished business is the Fuller Park
Picnic Area Committee,
Ad hoc Committee.
ad hoc committee, yes.
And what is the other item?
Okay, it's according to Soil Conservation District and turn into cabins. And the immediate payment of that bill was approved back in March of last year on the final payment on the cabins.
Do you have an amount?
I've heard 42.5. I have a paper here indicating 45,000. I do not know, because according to our minutes, when I went and dug them back into, it doesn't give the specific
Okay.
number, and that'll have to be dug out.
For the sake of expediency, if you gentlemen, if you don't mind, if we use the amount of 42.5 with the understanding it could, so I need your motion, if I'm understanding this, you're moving that we place under unfinished business, the ad hoc committee of Fuller Park, as well as the immediate payment towards the conservation district of 42.5.
Yes, that's my motion.
That is your motion. Is there a second, gentlemen? I have a second. I have motion. Discussion, please. All those in favor? Aye. I would also like to add,
I oppose it.
oh, very good. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't hear you. My apologies sincerely. Do noting that on a 4-1, that passes. Now, I would also like to add under new business, after we pay our bills, so this would be item 1.5, John Denholm of the Planning Commission will be offering us a year-end report. That was my motion.
I'll support that.
Have support. Discussion, gentlemen. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, very good. That would pass. And that the agenda is set for this evening.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
The agenda is, a motion is made to accept the agenda as amended. I need a second.
Aye.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Additional discussion. Very good. This agenda, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Okay. Presentation of written communications, communications received, communications forwarded. Do we have any?
Yes.
Okay, I would need a motion to place them in file.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, or supported by Commissioner Melnar. All those in favor? Aye. Very good. The reports of standing statutory special committees and others. Do we have any reports, please? Very good. We do have people.
Could that be a Parks and Recreation one?
Well,
I'm sorry, we,
Point of order.
it's a point of order by Commissioner Barron. We do not apparently have any committee reports at this point, correct? All right, very good. Moving on to public comment on agenda items. I have 3 individuals signed up. That doesn't mean that you can sign up or talk if you'd like to, even if you didn't sign up. Christine Williams, please.
The agenda item I was going to speak to has been stricken, so this will pertain to Parks and Recreation, which is a standing agenda item. I stood at this podium almost a year ago and asked the board not to continue management of Delta County Parks by the Delta Conservation District because of what I had experienced in dealing with Rory Mattson on my own private property. I did so in hopes of highlighting the true nature of this individual. The amount of dishonesty and misinformation disseminated by Mr. Mattson to my township board and the people in my community was egregious. And I thought, what else is he being honest about? This precipitated the start of a hard look into Mr. Mattson and the Delta Conservation District. And although I cannot communicate all that I would like tonight, I will highlight concerns that I would hope would help you to just make decisions regarding your relationship with the county and the Conservation District. Mr. Mattson made mistakes by not doing his homework and relying on his own history at O.B. Fuller Park. And that likely is going to cost the county money to remedy. Mr. Mattson caused Ford River Township to spend more than $12,000 on legal fees because of his misinformation and fabricated history. Mr. Mattson is using his position and resources to benefit himself personally as it relates to the county forest. He bought property that borders the southeast corner and obliterated a walking trail that brought people near his property. He planted evergreen trees at the start of that trail to block that entrance over time as those trees grow. And he has cut an alternate trail that takes people to the north rather than to the west toward his property. Mr. Mattson is proposing development of Rapid River Park that appears to have significant environmental and safety concerns. Mr. Mattson simultaneously represented himself and the Conservation District as a whole, advocating for industrial solar without disclosing a $2 million personal interest. Mr. Mattson and his board currently have several Open Meetings Act violations as well as FOIA violations. Although these are just some of the concerns I have with Mr. Mattson's work within this county, I am also concerned about his willful and intentional disregard for transparency and accountability. There are always two sides to every story, and what you heard tonight is not all truth. Delta County has capable administration that can manage our parks and our county forests. It's time to recognize and thank the staff of the Delta County District, the people who actually did the hard work, not necessarily Rory Mattson, but the people who did the hard work at Pioneer Park and O.B. Fuller Park, and move on. The county, the review of financial records from the Conservation District that I have done, in my opinion, shows that there is money to be made on those parks and that the parks can run themselves within the county. We should also listen to Dan Monacher, who was a well-respected and knowledgeable former county employee who recommended the county take back soil and erosion permitting, and we should, because there's money there as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, Ed Legault, please. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ed Legault. I'm the Executive Director of the Delta County Economic Development Alliance, and I did see there was a review of the administrator's contract on there tonight. And I did want to just do a little history. If you take a look at the county administrators from in the past, Nora View was a longtime county employee, over 40 years. She was the administrator for 6 years. Following Nora's retirement, Ryan Bergman was hired, and he was hired for 3 years before he decided to move on to be closer to his wife's family. At that point, Phil Strom was hired, and he had another opportunity to come after a year and 2 months. At that point in time, you had a first choice, Michael Silverman, and we could not finalize contract negotiations with him. He has since then changed jobs twice. Emily has been our administrator for 3+ years. You've invested in her. I think she's done a tremendous job. We are constantly looking to attract young professional people to our area. I look at Emily as one of those people. I look at Jim McNeil, the new city manager for Escanaba, is one of those people, and they serve as great role models for young people to come here and know that they can get involved in our city governments and county governments, our businesses, and thrive, and that they're respected in what they do. They're smart, intelligent people, and we should treat them like that. Hearing some of the things tonight, I probably don't have 3 minutes to talk about many of them, but one of the things I would say, and I would encourage the board, is you can't run a board when everyone is giving direction to one person and when the direction is not going in anywhere close to the same. You're doing her a disservice by doing that, and you're making her ineffective and you're wasting her time. I would encourage you to talk about what you need and get a unified message to her so you can do that. But my final comments, Emily has been involved in many of my meetings, many of the extra meetings that we've done. She's representative of you in a very positive, professional fashion, and she's been nothing but a tremendous partner in everything that we've done. I hope that you take that into consideration when you take a look at her performance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Folks, we're not gonna have. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not gonna have. Guys, I can't have it. If I have to have the room cleared by law enforcement, I will. Okay? No, we're not going there. We will maintain decorum. We're not applauding people. People address the board. I'm sorry if this is an emotional thing, but clapping is like an outburst. There's a time to talk, right? Reed Hyken, it's your time to talk. Anybody else interested after Mr. Hyken? I need it quiet in the audience, please, or I'll ask you to leave. This will be the last warning.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tonight, at the Commissioners' workshop, you discussed how to best move forward with the parks since the Conservation District has chosen to no longer run the parks. Mr. Melner, you campaigned against the Conservation District running the parks. You said so during your election. Stating that were you elected to the Conservation District, were you elected to the board, the Conservation District would be removed from operation of the parks. Because of you walking in lockstep with local liberals, the county is now facing approximately $25,000 in additional expense to hire employees to do the job. Mr. Melner, you were elected as a Republican. You had no opposition in a regular election, and you won the primary by 50 votes. Mr. Melner, let me assure you, 50 votes is not a mandate. And if you want to be a Democrat and you want to be a liberal, go ahead and do that and let at least the community know what you're really about. Okay, I hope you're happy having wasted our money because that's ours, not yours.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board on agenda items? Please up to the podium, sir. Thank you. You don't have to, but if you speak your name, I'd appreciate it.
Norman Fleury, I'm a trustee of Escanaba Township.
Thank you.
The county should run their own parks, and the townships that the parks are in should have the overview of the parks. Who better to maintain it and have a sub panel to report to the county board than Cornell. They got the big one up there, Cornell Township, Ford River Township, Wells Township. They all have a board. They have supervisors. They're very capable of running the stuff that's in their township. They run the township, and we don't have one in our Escanaba Township, but rather than farming something out to somebody that's not an agency from the local, the government is so quick to farm stuff out. I worked for the state for 20 years, and they found that private entities have to run on a profit. And when they run on a profit, they're going to cut corners to maintain the status quo. Then they wind up kicking them out. I worked for the prison system. They brought in private food service, and they wound up kicking them out because they've just, rotten food. But I think that they should take a look at having the townships run the parks that are in their own area. It'd save a lot of headache.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments from the public on agenda items? Going once in the room. Very good, sir.
Joe Kaplan, Ford River Township. In January, at least, I took an oath of office for the Parks and Rec Committee. No one has been in contact with me since. This was the last board that seated 5 people. It looks like this has been added to the agenda, but no one has reached out to me for getting our work done to take a look at O.B. Fuller Park. I've been in touch with the state several times. I just want to remind this commission that these trust fund grants, this funding, this is not something that happened 37 years ago and is to be forgotten. The trust fund monies that go into these parks, Cornell Forest, O.B. Fuller Park, those are statutory allocations, which means they're done by law, which means you have to follow the principles of which brought that money from the trust fund in the first place. And at O.B. Fuller Park, eliminating day use and subjugating it to across the road is what started at least my involvement in the interest at O.B. Fuller Park. Same thing's going on in Cornell Township with the Cornell Forest. The way that place is gated off, and especially with the annihilation of that walking trail last year, which wasn't done with the Conservation District Board's approval or with the County Commission's approval. And something that was said earlier, with this contract, it is a June, it's a June notification. So I want to know what happens to the $100,000 that's already been allocated. The Conservation District is obligated to work until next fall. You can't just break the contract and then decide you're going to walk away with the $100,000 that has already been allocated. And I don't see a way to split the $75,000 and the $25,000 for those other essential services. It was one contract, and that contract had obligations to it. And I hope that this commission follows that, at least for this year. My opposition to the original contract was the fact it was a 10-year renewal, no bid, no compete. I have my own issues with the conservation districts, but I will agree with Rory Matson on one thing: the parks are managed very well. And I think with some additional public oversight through this seated board or this commission, that we can start to take a look at how to better move into the future with these parks. I think it's a shame that the conservation district broke the contract so soon after getting it. I understand 2 commissioners that ran against it, but they lost. You got a majority here that supports the conservation district. That's an excuse.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Anybody else, please? Yes, sir.
My name's Ed Flurry. I'm a trustee for Cornell Township. This seems like deja vu all over again. And the gentleman just was talking about the Cornell area. Well, there's 1,400 acres there that was purchased. And we won't have time to go into all the things, but the paragraph on the time period allow for project completion, 7/14/2017 through 7/31/2019. Hereafter as a project. Now that project was supposed to be, and here are the things that were supposed to be had at that time. Well, it says, will the site be open to the general public? Yes. Lists the hours. How will the public reasonably able to access this property? Automobile, boat, public transportation, motorized trail, non-motorized trail, including mountain bike, other described horsebacks. This property, as a gentleman just still stated, it's completely locked up. It's gated, and there's not the access that was supposed to be is not available to the people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional comments, please, on agenda items. Additional comments, please, on agenda items. From Zoom, comments, please, on agenda items. All right, very good. Committee reports, starting with the administrator's report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Delta County YouTube channel, Delta County Board of Commissioners now have their meetings broadcast on their own YouTube channel. It will be broadcast live, as well as all meetings will be archived so that citizens can view them at any time. So they no longer need to contact administration to view any meetings. The link to the channel will be at the top of each agenda, as well as on the county website. Citizens and county employees will see new signs on the front of the courthouse. There are clearly marked doors indicating no weapons upon entry. Per Michigan Supreme Court order, there are no firearms allowed in the courthouse. The signage just makes that more visible to the public and those upon entry. There was a drug court graduation last evening. I want to thank Commissioner View for attending that graduation. 3 participants ended up graduating, and we are now over the 30 mark for successful graduations from drug court since its inception. The UP State Fair Authority has hired a director of operations who will begin March 6th of this year. It's a newly added position to the Fair Authority, working alongside Vicki Mishaw. We welcome him. We look forward to the progress that the Fair Authority is going to make in our 2023 UP State Fair. Our opioid settle payments were received. We received a check for $120,662.09. That was from the Janssen settlement, years 1 through 5. There's also $40,666.03 for years 1 through 2 through the J&J settlement. I have a meeting later this week with a representative from MAC. MAC has contracted with an attorney who is going to help develop a plan for these funds and talk to the county regarding restrictions. They are restricted funds. They are only to be used for citizens who are struggling with opioid addiction and services that can be provided to them. And finally, our fiscal year 22 audit. The fiscal year 22 audit is now underway. Administration has been gathering information for the auditors. They're going to be starting their analysis the week of February 20th. Most of the work will be done remotely from Anderson Tackman this year. So our controller, myself, and staff will be supplying them with information. Thank you.
Thank you. I need this placed on file, a motion.
So
Moved by Commissioner Barron. Supported by Commissioner Melner. All those in favor, put this on file? Aye, opposed? All right, very good. The buildings and grounds minutes of 1/24/23.
I move to get placed on file.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron to put them on file. Okay, discussion. All those in favor? Aye, so moved. It is placed on file. Also, Finance Committee of 2/3/23.
I move to be placed on file.
All right, we have motion by Commissioner Barron.
Second.
Support by Commissioner Peterson. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. This passes. All right, department updates, department head updates, please. Anybody?
This is for county department updates. So county department heads, not for public. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, you're out of order.
It's for the department head to speak on, not for the.
For county department heads, please. You'll have a chance under general public comment at the end of the meeting if you'd like. All right, very good. We have unfinished business.
Mr. Schroeder would like to
Oh,
speak.
I didn't even know you were here. I apologize, Corey.
Back. You guys are gonna look at the utility relocation stuff tonight and hopefully approve everything. And if that's all approved, we're gonna have a mandatory walkthrough for all the contractors, February 8th from 9 AM to 11. And then the bids, I believe, will be the first week of March, the meeting of the first week of March. They have to be in, and they'll be opened by you guys in public. So that's coming. And then the multi-use building that we got going, they're looking at starting that in March. So it's going to be an early start. So we should be rolling with that fairly quickly.
Thank you.
I have one question. On the relocation of the utilities at the courthouse. Do you have any monetary range of where you think this is gonna come in?
Well, a couple of years ago, it was about 500,000. I would guess probably more than that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for? All right, thank you for the job you do, sir. Any other department heads? I didn't mean to certainly go past Corey. All right, very good. Under unfinished business, we have item number 1, which is the Fuller Park Ad Hoc Committee. The Commissioner, this was your ad.
Yes, it's actually the Fuller Park Picnic Area Committee or Ad Hoc Committee. I'd like to, I'd like to have this moved and let the Soil Conservation Service handle this. They are handling the parks yet. They should have been in there. Should have been with them to begin with. And you have individuals that have put their names in for the committee. At least one, the Soil Conservation District itself is a part of the committee. And also we're to have one member from this board. I'd like to see Commissioner Peterson on that, this ad hoc committee. And I'd like to see this committee meet and go over what meet very soon so that we can have a recommendation back for our.
You'll need to streamline your motion
Okay.
because it'll be confusing as.
Okay, well, I just want to lay out the different items and then I'll streamline it.
Okay.
To report back to the board for the February 21st meeting. Anyway, what I'd like to see is make a motion that Fuller Park Picnic Area Ad Hoc Committee fall under the Soil Conservation District, that they would take care of it. And that Commissioner Bob Peterson would be our appointee from the board, and that they would meet in the next 2 weeks and then report a recommendation back to the board so we can get this done.
That is Commissioner Barron's motion. Is there a second on this?
I'll support it.
All right, very good. Commissioner View, we have discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? That passes. Very good. We're looking at a second unfinished business item of the amount of the 42,500 being paid for immediately. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, well, I'm not exactly sure on the figure. I have a couple different numbers. One was 45,000, one's 42,500. As I said earlier, I haven't been able to find that from our minutes, but I would like to I'm going to make a motion that this be paid immediately and that the records be checked exactly what was approved by the board, I believe is in March of last year.
All right, so we have a motion to pay this amount or the amount due immediately. Gentlemen, I would need a second for that.
I'll support that.
All right, so we have a motion and we have support. We have additional discussion on this. Mr. View.
Is the administration had some questions on why it wasn't paid? Are them answered now or are they still up in the air?
No, the questions are still with me. We have to follow federal guidelines when it comes to reimbursement or use of this money because we have to report to the federal government for any of this use on a annual basis. So those questions were still with me and we wanted to button those up before we disperse payment to the district to make sure that the county wouldn't be liable in the future for any funds that were dispersed from the ARP funds.
How many, what are the questions, if I may ask? Because if
I don't know them off the top of my head. They were receipts. We had to go through and match receipts and invoices and make sure that all the calculations were correct and that the backup documentation was sufficient to send in to our reporting on it. So I can get those over to the Delta Conservation District. And then when they respond with that, if it's sufficient to what we need, then we can go ahead and disperse payment.
can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Bob, on your motion, would you put it like a little amendment in there that the issues of the government is satisfied before this payment is given? It follows the rules. I'm not real informed on what rules or violations there are in not paying this, but I think that if there is something federally that has to be followed, that if it can be done immediately and then it be paid. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I appreciate that. I would, the invoice was turned in in September. There was a request to pay it several times after that. It hasn't taken place. And as far as the
There was no several requests to pay it. I received the invoices and have not heard from the district since September.
Mr.
I
Peterson,
would actually like to say to the contrary, that when I was the chairman of the board on November 22nd, sent an email to Emily asking to have that paid. The response I got back was that there was still questions outgoing and that they were still matching up bills in November. So she has had communications from the district by me on November 22nd about this outstanding bill.
also that on the American Recovery Funds, I dislike using that. It's the Fauci Flu Fiasco Fund, but the there's because of as we were told when they came in that you had to have certain criteria, but because of our situation, those funds were actually pretty free to be used at our discretion.
anybody else, please?
But there still has to be questions done to meet the federal guidelines. Until those questions are done, they have to be done first. Otherwise, it's going to put us at risk.
So are we in danger of not having the information to meet federal criteria to process this? What information is needed to meet federal criteria to process this?
I just wanted that as an amendment to that bill that we get that done immediately. I mean, this bill needs to be paid. I understand that, but if there's.
Mr. Peterson, sorry, sir.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say that, we've had almost 7 months here to get this information, and the questions haven't gotten out to the district that they needed to answer. And if we need to take
Folks, I need it quiet in that audience.
if we need to take a little bit of time yet, but I think that these questions should have gotten to the district and gotten back to answered and back by now. And if these questions have to be answered, I think we should put a time frame on that at the very least.
Mr. Barron?
I'll modify my motion that this be done before our February 21st meeting.
All right, so your motion would be to have the necessary information by February 21st meeting and return from the Conservation District?
And paid.
That the motion would be that I'll modify my motion to pay immediately, that this information be sought and the bill be paid by our 21st meeting.
Ms. Rocky, do you?
Yes.
Okay, that is the modified motion. Do we have support for that? We have support for that motion. Commissioner Melnar, your wheels are
What
going.
was the full motion again? They have the federal, all our paperwork and
Have all these questions and this taken care of and the bill paid by our February 21st meeting.
as long as the questions and everything are filled out, I have no problem.
All right, gentlemen, additional discussion? None? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
I
Opposed? This motion would pass. Okay, under new business, we have the payment of our bills.
I've examined all claims presented, recommend payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the county treasurer to the claimants for the amounts allowed. We have total bills of $913,845, commissioner expenses of $874.38.
I would need a motion, gentlemen.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron,
support.
support by Commissioner View that we pay our bills. Clerk Rocky, please roll.
Milner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. Okay, now, Mr. Denham, please come up. You have the floor for the Planning Commission report. Did we lose Mr. Denham?
Thanks,
Oh, he's, okay, cool. Thank you. Last year's. report.
Thank you.
So, 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024. 2024 Sir, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Guys. Ladies, there isn't a lot here. We did a lot. The committees really worked hard on the solar stuff. I don't know. You've got it in front of you there. Membership, how do you want me to do this?
Just what you think's appropriate, that's fine, just.
Well, you could see the people that were on the board. Christine was chair, I was vice chair, Randy Scott, Renee Barron, Kurt Larson, Dave Moyle and John Melnar were on the board. They had 7 meetings over the year. I don't think we need to specifically do the meetings. We did work on master plan review. Master plan was adopted in 2019. And what that does, 5 years, we're supposed to redo or go over and refresh the master plan. And this year is the year to do that. Because we've got new people and our Commissioner Barron resigned meeting last night. So we're going to have 4 brand new commissioners. So we tabled any review of the master plan until these folks can all get up to speed on what we're doing and what's entailed. It's a process. We have to have community input. So all the stuff for the master plan was just tabled until we get this done. I would suggest that maybe because there's 4 brand new people on the board, that we could get some training that might speed it up to bring these people up to speed. Michigan State has a what do they call it? I'm not sure. You know the name of it? It's
I don't know the exact training, but Michigan State Extension does work well with the planning commission to be
well,
able to
I've been
allow
to
them
their
to
stuff before. I don't know exactly the name of it. They have, I looked online, there's probably 4 or 5 different ones. But there's money involved. The LSNR and mixed use. We tabled those because we're kind of waiting to see what happens with the zoning, if the zoning stays with the county or if the zoning goes, one of the townships have opted to take it over on their own. There were site plan reviews that we approved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they all ended up here anyway. So you guys have seen those already. Christine put in variance requests. The variances are actually handled by the Board of Appeals. The Planning Commission doesn't really do those. So there were a few. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of variance. There's some of the Board of Commissioners. We adopted a solar ordinance. And we adopted the Planning Commission to include the solar development, approved site plans, appointed new Planning Commission members. You guys, I think we just did one last year, was Curtis, he's here. We're working on zoning map updates. That's going to be pretty complicated. I think that we could get some additional help. One of the things we found out here is that we need some change to the master plan on the airport and on farmland. Our master plan doesn't have farmland in it.
it was put under resource production, and I'm on the Farm Bureau board, so I had some input from those people about farming is a big economic input in this county. And it has special tax status, and it has special legal protection under both state and federal law. So that stuff needs to be in there. And the FSA and USDA, they have a mapping system, federal. We should be able to tap into their maps and find out. I know they can take anybody's property, Bob's or somebody, and they can tell you exactly how many acres. They have that ability. So we should contact those people and see if we can use some of their mapping systems, because it's better than ours. And then we get to trainings, and I put it on here. I wrote it down. Citizen Planner is the MSU. And there's going to be some in different, they actually give you a certificate. You become a citizen planner after you complete this MSU course. So that would be the best one. And I attended it, and the commissioners did years ago. I don't know, we can get money to do it, but I'll look into it. Let's see if there's any other meetings here. There were meetings of the whole discussing whether the county was going to maintain zoning or what the townships had. So there was 5 of those meetings. Escanaba Township had their own solar ordinance, and Garden Township took over their own zoning. I think that I duplicated some of this. And when we get into going over this master plan, we're going to have community input, some more public hearings and stuff to do that. Any questions about any of that?
Gentlemen, questions for Mr. Dunn?
Oh, you mentioned about the FSA and their maps. They have excellent maps.
They do.
I've
And
worked
they
with
have,
those before. That's a good idea to check with them. Hopefully they would be in a sharing mode.
well, I talked to them already, and they were kind of negative because we didn't have any ag land designated in our master plan for the future. I think we all want to eat in the future. That's probably a good idea.
You said resource production. Resource production includes forest land and ag land. So it's actually from my standpoint in zoning, as far as that I work with, as far as land, it's a better designation.
Thank you for your services.
Well, the ag land though has separate tax assessment and legal protection. The forest part of it doesn't really, it's not the same.
Well, there's 2 different programs. for it.
Right. And they all are under Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
I would need a motion to put this in file.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron. Support by Commissioner Melner to place this on a file. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That would pass. Thank you, sir. All right, item number 2 would be donation to the Weaver family from the employees of Delta County, and this is heartbreaking. So,
Yes, I talked to Emily and see if she could kind of let the employees know that I was trying to collect some money from the Delta County employees. I do have a card here for them. Emily did collect some money from the employees from Delta County, so this will go to them. I asked the commissioners if you got anything extra, we'll put it in with that. And I will probably give it to them probably tomorrow.
so if
Make a presentation to them.
anybody on the commission wishes to add anything additional to it, you'll take money tonight for it.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner. Again, I can't stress enough how heartbreaking that is. Thank you for taking the lead on that, John. Item number 3, request to donate sick leave.
We have an employee request for donation of sick time.
Gentlemen, I would need a motion.
So moved.
We have motion for,
Support.
it's a motion from Commissioner Barron, support from Commissioner Melner. Discussion, nothing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. Retirement of D. Johnson, request for lump sum payout and to fill the detective position.
We received notice on January 30th from Detective Lieutenant Johnson with our Sheriff's Department that he is going to be entering into retirement. He has served the county for almost 28 years. I thanked him for his tremendous service that he's given to the citizens and to the county. We are looking for a letter of thanks to him, a request to approve his lump sum payout and to fill his position.
So moved.
It's moved by Commissioner View,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. We can get him a letter and with our gratitude. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That item passes. All right, appointment to Pathways. We have one opening.
There were two applications that were received. They're included in your board packet.
Gentlemen, your
Yeah.
pleasure.
I would like to make a motion to get Teresa Nelson on the Pathways Board.
I'll support that.
We have support. We have a motion from Commissioner Melnar, support from Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion. I think it's a good match. She's a very extensive, very kind person. All those in
Yes.
favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. Thank you, Teresa.
How long, can I ask a question? How long did he stay on file in case somebody resigns or something, these applications?
We usually keep them for quite a while.
Okay.
So if there's an opening for that board in the near future, we usually reach out to any applications that we have on file and talk to the applicants. and-
What's quite a while, a year?
About maybe a year or 2 years, we keep them on file up in administration and we'll reach out to the applicant to see if they're still interested at that
Cause
time.
I kind of know the other guy too, and he's pretty good too, so
What's the other gentleman?
Roland,
Jacobson.
Jacobson, yeah.
Very good. We have a resolution for the MAC 125th anniversary year.
This was received from Mac, Derek Malott. He's looking for a resolution. Mac is celebrating their 125th anniversary.
Commissioners?
So moved.
It's moved by Commissioner View. Support by Commissioner Melner to additional discussion on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we would offer our support to this resolution. Item number 7 is the Delta County Jail Food Services Contract.
This was brought to a finance committee meeting. The contract with our food service vendor, as you remember, the board may remember last year increased by 10%. They're looking to increase it again by another 5% due to their increases. And so there's a new contract that is attached in your board packet. The finance committee did approve this to bring to the full board.
So this is through just basically the cost of inflation, and I don't think it's commissioners. I would need a motion to start off.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Commissioner Melner, supported by
support it.
Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion, guys?
Well, being one of the members and myself and Commissioner Peterson, this is we have a contract, but the contract has language for these increases in the cost of food that they have coming forth. That was Commissioner Peterson had asked questions about that. And yeah, it's I understand the difficulty in running it when you have these inflationary situation as far as food is concerned. The price of eggs seems $3 one day and $7 the next. And that's definitely in it. Yeah, I don't believe the food inflation is going to come down anytime too soon because of the high cost pipeline issues for some of the grains and different things, soybeans, to produce those products. So anyway, so that's, we approve that.
We have a motion. We have a second. Additional discussion.
I would just like to make the comment that even though it looks fairly reasonable, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's actually real inexpensive, but I guess I talked to one of the sheriffs and they said it's quite a big bill for the whole year for how much is there. So I got a little better perspective on that increase for that food service.
Very good. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This passes unanimously. Item number 8 has been removed. Item number 9, Mr. Melner.
Not me. That one's been removed.
Yeah.
The comment on
Commissioner Peters.
Commissioner Peterson, administrator's contract, I believe was your.
Oh, I will turn it over to Emily. She's the one that.
I'm gonna speak on this matter tonight. Good evening. For anyone here tonight who does not know me, my name is Emily DeSalvo, and I've been appointed by the Board of Commissioners as the Delta County Administrator. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge the time, sincerity, and work that Commissioner Melner has put into county business. It's appreciated, and the support I've received as administrator is noted. I want to be clear, my statement is not directed towards him or Commissioner View as a new commissioner. My job as county commissioner is an appointed position. The board chose me, and I serve at their pleasure. The purpose of this job is to receive and relay information pertaining to county business to the Board of Commissioners, ensuring the functionality of local government. I lead approximately 130 employees and make sure the policies and procedures that the board initiates are being followed. I generate positive working relationships with county stakeholders and network as much as possible to allow the county to be in a position to utilize all opportunities that are available, both financially and procedurally. I was not voted for by the public, and I am not part of a union. I am here to inform the public and to remind the board that I serve at their pleasure. I typically refrain from commenting because my role rarely calls for it. The board is my boss, and my role is to give them information and my professional opinion. If my work displeases the board, it is within their power to dismiss me. I feel it imperative I remind the board of this, as I have recently been asked many questions regarding my position by the board and by individuals of the public. During my 3 years as administrator, I have remained an ethical and neutral party in many controversial issues and have worked hard to maintain positive working relationships with outside entities. During my time in this position, I have received several emails from sitting commissioners or sat in meetings with commissioners in which I was told not to voice my concerns for the county, not to engage in information finding, and not to perform duties within my job description. I am concerned this board is more concerned about their political capital or personal gain than serving the county. The board's recent elimination of the ethics committee supports this concern. I am speaking tonight to remind the board that self-serving interests of board members should not be brought to local government at this level. If commissioners feel the need to change legislation due to their political affiliation, they belong in Lansing and not in Delta County. Our county's viability rests in the decisions made by the board.
Audience, please.
People's livelihoods are immediately impacted by the decisions made here. This is not the place for your unresolved personal issues to be unleashed. I have sat through 2 public job performance reviews, which I have chosen and opted to have public, in which the board chair at the time commented positively on my disassociation from political views and my decision-making, even noting he could not tell which side of the aisle I align with. During this time period, I was chastised by Commissioner Moyle for not protecting him in a public meeting when he takes a political stance and is met with criticism from the public. At these same job performance reviews, I was given exceptionally low scores from both Commissioners Barron and Moyle with no justification. I commented publicly, welcoming the feedback so as to learn where my shortcomings are and work towards improving them in the coming year. I was met with silence. I then offered a private meeting to the board, considering that the commissioners may be more comfortable explaining my perceived shortcomings in private.
I have yet to receive any feedback, either publicly or privately, justifying these low discrepant scores. It is difficult not to make assumptions from this type of behavior. It is impossible not to feel disrespected. However, at the time, I chose to move forward, completing my duties to the board and public in the manner I had been, diligently and professionally. However, I cannot remain silent. When a current commissioner takes an oath to work in the best interests of the county and then fails to notify the county administrator that the Delta Conservation District is pulling out of their contract with the county, that he had been party to a conversation containing this information prior to it being publicly announced. How can I move forward trusting that commissioner has the county's best interest at hand? I can understand, but I do not excuse the disrespect towards me. I know I represent a certain type of perspective some of you are transparently uncomfortable with. But I cannot remain silent while you abandon your oaths to this county and the citizens. For the past 3 years that I have been administrator, I have made every decision based on the best interests of the county. I have vested interest in the county's success because I am from here, generationally from here. My life is here, my family is here, and this is and has been my community. I'm educated, I am qualified, and I'm experienced enough to understand my role as administrator. I have also been undermined, ignored, and disrespected, and now have endured personal attacks on my character by Mr. Rory Mattson, the CEO of the Delta Conservation District. When Mr.
Stop for a
Mattson,
minute, I'll let you go in a second. I will ask you one last time to stop. And then if that doesn't, I'll recess the meeting. I'll have law enforcement escort you out. So it's your option. Please be quiet. I apologize.
when Mr. Mattson stood up here 3 weeks ago and pulled out the contract on behalf of the district, I was told publicly by several commissioners that we needed to get moving on where the county goes from here in taking back the parks, and we needed to act quickly. Following that very public directive, I started gathering information on financials, grants, procedures to allow the board to have all the information I could find so that they can make a decision moving forward. In the next few days, I received 2 emails, one from Commissioner Barron and one from Commissioner Peterson, telling me that I was being presumptuous and to cease anything I was doing regarding the parks. I found this directive odd, as it was counter to the public directive I had been given only days earlier. I later discovered Mr. Mattson desired to remain in contract on behalf of the district with the county forest land maintenance and soil and erosion permitting, as this is a source of revenue within the contract. The revenue from the permits would allow the county to offset much of the cost of the abandoned contract it now stood to absorb. This is in the county's best interest to receive this money directly. And yet these details and the abandonment of the contract in the first place were not discussed in a transparent manner. This is unethical. For the last 3 years, I have sat at tables in meetings with commissioners who do not listen, do not ask for my opinion, and do not take my recommendations. But now, just weeks ago, since Mr. Mattson's public comments and contract abandonment, I have had to hear from people in the public that commissioners are having discussions regarding my position and suggesting a replacement. I have had Commissioner Peterson request a copy of my contract, ask if my position was part of a union, and then when I directly questioned him about these inquiries, his response was that he had been thinking what would happen to the county if I got hit by a car. I serve at the pleasure of the
Please
board.
stop. We are recessing this meeting if you continue.
Bullshit.
I serve at the pleasure of the board. If my service,
All right, stop. I'm going to recess this meeting for 5 minutes. We're going to get law enforcement. You're going to hear in 5 minutes, but I've got to, this crowd is out of control.
we have law enforcement in the back.
All right,
Commissioner Moore.
sir, can you please? We have law enforcement here?
I serve at the pleasure of the board. If my service displeases you, you are under no obligation to keep me in this position but you also have no right to threaten me, and I will not be intimidated. If these actions are about the severance payment in my contract, I can assure you that you're wasting your time. I would also mention you're wasting the county's time and money by attempting to find a breach in contract by myself. Feel free to continue to search, but I am and always have been ethical and professional. I believe you know this to be true because I'm still waiting for one reason why you marked my performance so low. I questioned whether it was appropriate to address these concerns with the board in a public forum. I then came to the realization that if I do not stand up for myself and other county employees, we will continue to experience this unethical behavior. And the citizens of Delta County will really be the ones to suffer. So I decided I must speak publicly because this is bigger than me, and whether you choose to keep me in this position or not. Also, because speaking to you privately has rendered no progress regarding any of these issues. Should the board choose to move forward with me as county administrator, I do not feel it appropriate to leave the board without a path onward. So I will leave you with two suggestions. The first being that I will suggest all communication with me to be in writing through email to serve as a public record of the board's actions as well as my own. And two, I will not be silent if I witness unethical behavior. So stop behaving in a manner which disrespects the office you hold in the community that you serve. I serve the county at the board's pleasure, and I will continue to ethically and morally do so until which time the board members determine they no longer align with that type of service that I provide and the manner in which I provide it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are you here? All right, ladies and gentlemen. You do it once or something?
Yeah, was.
I need officer to have decorum in this room. Okay, so people are going to have to either be quiet or leave, and you'll be escorted out under police escort. Gentlemen?
Okay, well, I thank Minister DeSalvo for what she's presented. My name and a few other commissioners were used a few times in this. And she's right. She serves at the pleasure of the board. So I'm going to make a motion to terminate Administrator Emily DeSalvo's contract and employment with Delta County immediately.
I'll support that. You have Commissioner Barron, so I want to make sure I'm straight on this. Commissioner Barron moves to effectively immediately terminate Administrator DeSalvo's contract and employment. And is that your understanding of the support you're lending?
Correct.
Discussion, gentlemen. Mr. Melner?
I don't know where this board is headed, but it looks like it's going down the tubes. I am just words can't describe it. And I think it's wrong. Deadbeat wrong. I don't know what you're thinking.
Anybody else, please? All right, I would like a roll call on this.
Milner,
No.
you,
No,
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
Yes. Deputy, you want to clear the room, please, if people cannot control themselves? All right, I would need Emily's keys tonight. There'll be somebody in the office with me tomorrow morning when you get the personal stuff. Thank you for your service, and I do wish you luck.
Do a recall.